Ambient air quality monitoring levels in Connecticut during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this video, we will look at data from Connecticut's Air Quality Monitoring Network and the impact of Governor Lamont's Stay Safe, Stay Home directive issued on March 17, 2020 to protect public health and slow the spread of COVID-19. This action has resulted in the closing of non-essential businesses, schools, and retail stores. As a result of actions both in Connecticut and nearby states, air pollution emissions from transportation and commercial and industrial facilities may be greatly reduced at this time. The Connecticut Ambient Air Monitoring Network consists of 14 stations operated by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, or DEEP, and one additional station operated by EPA, distributed throughout the state. Most of the stations are configured to sample the potentially highest levels of pollutants that humans are typically exposed to in the area. DEEP's monitoring stations are located and outfitted according to federal regulations and guidance and use federally approved testing methods. Data obtained from these stations from 2020 presented here is preliminary and has not been fully reviewed and validated. Connecticut's network monitors air pollutants of most concern to DEEP, including ozone, fine particulates, and other criteria pollutants as required by the Federal Clean Air Act. Nitrogen dioxide, or NO2, while toxic at high concentrations, is also a major concern in Connecticut at lower levels because of its role in forming ground-level ozone during the late spring and summer months. Black carbon and fine particulate elemental species provide information on the composition of fine PM, which can help DEEP identify and control the responsible sources. EPA sets national health-based standards, known as the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or NAAQS, for each of the 6 criteria pollutants at levels designed to protect human health with an adequate margin of safety. Compliance is determined by calculating design values, which are the statistical metrics used to compare each pollutant to its respective standard and which are based on monitored data. The design values provided here are the latest for Connecticut and are based on 2018 air quality levels. As shown, only ozone has a design value that exceeds the standard, while fine particulate, or PM2.5, is the next highest relative to the standards. EPA periodically reviews each of the NAAQS and may strengthen them based on the most recent scientific information. Air monitoring during the current pandemic. As EPA has directed air agencies to continue ambient air monitoring programs to the extent possible, DEEP has complied by continuing normal monitoring operations. Following Governor Lamont's emergency declaration, social distancing, and stay-at-home directives, and the ensuing closing of schools and many industrial and commercial activities, DEEP expected to see a significant reduction in air emissions. Roadway traffic monitors have shown major reductions in motor vehicle traffic since approximately March 13th. DEEP operates a traffic counter at its near road site adjacent to I-84 in Hartford. This plot of total vehicles per day over the period January 1st through April 28th, 2020 shows a major drop in volume from about March 13th. The average from January 1st to March 13th is 169,000 vehicles per day, while the average from March 14th to April 28th is 99,000 vehicles per day, a decrease of 41%. Comparing the weekday average vehicle count for each hour of the day between these two periods shows the largest decrease during the typical rush hour periods. The weekend average hour of day data also show the biggest reduction in traffic during the peak period. DEEP looked at the trends in Connecticut ambient air monitoring data during the period of March 1st to April 12th to examine the impact of the statewide stay-home directive might be having on air pollution levels. Potential changes in emissions could be due to reductions in industrial and commercial operations, including stationary and mobile sources, as well as mobile source reductions from commuting and personal trips. This chart shows decreases in the range of 40% for NO2, PM2.5, and SO2, and a drop of 16% for CO. Please remember, this data is preliminary and will be subject to further quality assurance. DEEP is using March 1st as the starting point for this data analysis to minimize the seasonal impacts on air pollution we observe every year. An issue with comparing pollutant levels between these two adjacent time intervals is that seasonal changes also affect air pollution levels in Connecticut, with spring generally being a time of cleaner air due to changing atmospheric conditions and lower emissions from indoor space heating. To compare apples to apples, DEEP also analyzed air quality data during the shutdown with the same calendar period in previous years. This chart shows the average NO2 for March 14th through April 28th for the years 2017, 2018, and 2019, indicated in blue, compared with the average NO2 for the same period in 2020, shown in orange. The data shows a decline of 33 to 37% at the urban and suburban areas, while the rural mountaintop Cornwall station had a drop of 13%. As with the previous comparison, it is possible that factors such as different weather conditions or reduced emissions from pollution control measures could be contributing to these reductions, in addition to those reductions due to the pandemic. Comparing fine particulate data for the 2020 shutdown with the average of the same period for the previous 3 years does not show a clear impact of the shutdown, with reductions in PM2.5 levels at only 2 sites. Urban sulfur dioxide levels declined for the post-shutdown period compared to earlier years at rates of 18% at Bridgeport and 57% at New Haven. Cornwall SO2 did not show any change. Monitors in Connecticut indicate lower carbon monoxide levels since the pandemic shutdown, particularly at the Hartford site, which had a drop of 21%. New Haven also declined significantly, 16%, while Cornwall indicated a 7% drop in the background CO levels. Comparing average particulate black carbon for the March 14th to the April 26, 2020 period with the average for the same period for 2017 to 2019, levels have declined at Connecticut's 5 monitors from 23 to 34%, the greatest drops seen in the more urban areas. DEEP will continue reviewing and analyzing these trends for black carbon and the other pollutants discussed to better understand relationships between the observed concentrations and the changing emissions during this pandemic. So some observations and conclusions. Under normal conditions, Connecticut's air quality in early spring is generally very good due to weather patterns and reduced power demand. For example, lower space heating demands and no air conditioning demands. Unprecedented actions to fight COVID-19 resulted in greatly reduced activity at airports, power plants, industrial and commercial sources, as well as reduced vehicle traffic in Connecticut and nearby states. These reductions, in combination with normal seasonal factors, have resulted in reduced levels of monitored air pollution for certain pollutants, but not all pollutants. Ambient air quality monitoring data shows estimated reductions of ambient levels of 13 to 37% for nitrogen dioxide, 7 to 21% for carbon monoxide, 0 to 57% for sulfur dioxide, and 23 to 34% for black carbon. Fine particulate matter did not indicate a pattern of reduction. Ozone, which is smog production, does not increase until the temperatures are regularly 80 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, so impact on monitored ozone levels is minimal at this time. These preliminary data are not fully quality assured, but if accurate, are likely related to the reduction in all fossil fuel combustion associated with a wide variety of sources, including power plants, manufacturing, and reduced light-duty vehicle traffic, both in Connecticut and in the greater New York City metropolitan area. Thank you for watching this video. For more information and updates on air monitoring in Connecticut, go to the DEEP website at portal.ct.gov/deep.